Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It is me, the Mysterious Cameraman, and today we're going to be talking about if Green Arrow is really a villain. So, over a year ago, I made a video talking about Green Arrow and doing every single season reviewed and if it's still good. And then, once that ended, I then spoke about The Undertaking in one of my favorite episodes, Sacrifice. And this year, I decided to return to Arrow because that was my first time ever seeing it. And I was like, why not rewatch it now with the lens of already knowing the ending? Because I feel like watching a CW show again, now that you know what you're going to, really makes you see the show so differently. So I went to watch it, and I will say it is an incredible experience. And I'm just on season one right now. I know what happens in the other seasons, but I started thinking in season one, is Arrow really like good? Because it doesn't seem that way. And once and I really started thinking about this after the fourth or fifth episode when Green Arrow gets arrested. Because he has to have a reason to get arrested. So it really was me starting to think, well, why is this happening? Why is Green Arrow getting arrested? Is it legal? Like obviously we're not even talking about like legality in like a serious way, but also it could be. Um So let's just go right into the first fact. In season one, Green Arrow kills 55 confirmed people, which is a very big amount. But now let's go into a bit of a criminal law aspect of it, which we're going to get into in a minute or two. Um, I think when you look at this show, you can justify it by saying Green Arrow is a hero because he's trying to help the community and he isn't doing bad things. But something else you'll notice is how Green Arrow's entire character changes between the first and second episodes to the rest of the season. Because at the start, it's like Green Arrow is trying to give the money back and stuff. And towards the end, it's like he just kind of wants to kill them or like send them to prison. Like he really was Robin Hood for like a good 2 episodes and then they kind of gave up on that. So if he was attacking these people and then sending the money back, yes, he's sending the money back, that's good. But he is also committing first degree murder for every single person he kills. And the reason why it's first degree is even though he may not know directly who some of the henchmen are, because he's aiming the bow, that is a premeditated kill. So we're going to quickly talk about different types of murder that could be. So mainly first and second degree murder. The thing with second degree and first degree that's so different is first degree needs to be premeditated. It needs to be something when you move the bow or aim something, or even just for a few seconds, if you think about doing it, that counts as first degree murder. Second degree is very different, is when very simply there isn't any premeditation and the murder just kind of happens. And in when you're using a bow and arrow, that is a premeditated kill. For example, though, when you look at season 1, episode 23 on the island, when the bomb goes back down, Green Arrow Oliver is the one who changes the course, which is technically causation. And causation, very simply, is if your action leads to another action and their death or injury or something like that. So him changing the circuit board is fair causation to lead to the death of those people. However, because it wasn't in a way premeditated, he didn't aim it. He didn't aim the rocket to go at that area. He changed the rocket's course to causation. That would either be first degree manslaughter or second degree murder. I'm not going to go directly into that because we don't fully know how many people die in that explosion. We know there is a loss of life, but we don't know much else besides that. So we can infer a few things, but we don't have a confirmed count. So I can't really say what is second degree murder and what is manslaughter. And also, it depends how they died. Because if someone died from the missile directly hitting down, then like the explosion itself, like the fire, then that's probably closer to second degree murder. While you could also say someone who dies from it is not on Oliver's conscious if it explodes and then like the building collapses. Is that fair enough causation? In my opinion, it would be a fair enough amount of causation to lead to the death if the building explodes, but we don't know what is certain, what isn't certain, so I'm not really going to talk much more about that specific scene. Throughout this video, some definitions should be coming up for the terms I'm using. I don't really know how often that's going to happen, but who knows. So I really want to focus on, if we just think about some of the things that Green Arrow does, and if they're really considered a crime, if they're considered murder. And at the end, we're just going to say, is Oliver innocent in season one? I'd say by the end of the show, it could be a very different outcome, and I could make like a part two to this video then. So, thanks to fandom, I actually have a list of every single person who died in season one of Arrow. So I'm gonna be doing. I don't have all these like ordered because I'm just using this. But we're just gonna kind of talk about what some of the deaths that Arrow causes, because I don't know all of them. One in the pilot is, it says that an unnamed henchman of Moira's is killed by Oliver by breaking their neck. That is first degree murder. Period. Even though he doesn't know who the person is, he knows like the idea of the person, or like he knows like he doesn't know the name, but he knows who the person is, which means it makes it very clear that that is first degree murder. He is causing that to occur. And then we also have three unnamed Adam Hunt henchmen who are shot by Oliver by using the arrows and a bow. That is also first degree murder because he is shot by the arrow going into, like, he's aiming the bow and then it is shot. We're going to go into a little bit of a more like iffy murder, which is another one of Adam Hunt's henchmen who was accidentally shot by another unknown henchman while fighting Oliver. So one of the henchmen accidentally shoots another one while fighting Oliver. Is that causation on Oliver's behalf? In my opinion, that wouldn't be. I think that is some, you could argue either way. I'm something so big about criminal law, which I'm just going to say once here, is there isn't necessarily different definitions, but you could argue either way here. Someone could argue that he is innocent, someone could argue he's guilty, and what I'm saying isn't right per se. It could be more in line or not in line with your beliefs, but there isn't a correct answer like in math. Like math and then criminal law are like opposite sides of the spectrum, because whatever you argue, as long as you argue it well, it is going to be right. With math, with criminal law, I mean, but with math, there's one answer, that's it. So you could say this Adam henchman who's shot by another henchman could be causation on Oliver's behalf, because Oliver did in fact lead to the death. Like he did help aim, like he did like put the pressure onto the henchman, which could have led to his death. However, you also could say it isn't, because Arrow's actions may not have directly led to the death of this henchman. So I think you could argue it either way. I also don't remember this scene. Like, this was probably in 2 seconds of the episode. I don't remember this clearly enough. So I'm not going to say, like, directly if it is or not. So I think there's a ton of these times when anytime that Oliver shoots someone with an arrow and is aiming at that person is first degree murder, period. For example, though, I'm going to quickly go into the Flash season 8 to give an example. When Barry throws the lightning at Dawn and then Iris comes in, that isn't first degree murder of Iris, because he wasn't aiming for Iris. That would be manslaughter. Or second degree. It could be second degree. No, it's not second degree. It's definitely manslaughter. But I think when you have to have him aiming at that person, so like let's say there was X, Y, and X and Y. X shoots at Y, it has to hit Y. If Z comes in, that's not first degree murder. There's a ton of these times that people are shot throughout this season by Oliver. Um, I could go on for days about it. But like, for example, let's go on episode 3 now. You could also make an argument that Floyd Lawton, who gets 27 kills, not all of his kills are first degree murder, which is true. For example, there are some accidental people who Floyd Lawton kills. That isn't first degree murder. That's probably second degree manslaughter. So that's very different. However, in court, could a lawyer argue that because Arrow took down Lawton, does that make up for the murder? Or you could go back to episode 1 when you say with the $40 million paid back to the people from Adam Hunt, does that, even though Arrow killed some people, does the fact that the $40 million that Adam Hunt stole make up for the, like, does the crime that Adam Hunt committed, is the crimes that Arrow committed, level that out? I think you could also make that argument very differently, and because Adam Hunt then gets murdered in episode 9, I believe. So because he's murdered in episode 9, if this was before he was murdered, you could make that argument. But after he was murdered, it would be very challenging because you're then charging someone who's dead almost, and then you could then, it's just a very challenging argument to make. If something I'm going to discuss more at the end of this video is, it's so challenging to argue if Arrow's actions by stopping people or paying back to the community that the things that are stolen, if that makes up for, like, if Arrow's good actions make up for the bad in the court of law, that isn't necessarily, like, I don't even know if you'd say like possible, because it is possible. There are times that you can make that argument. I don't think that in most of these scenarios that can happen, because Arrow isn't ever put into a situation where it would be very clear that his actions directly led to, not even directly led to, it just is such a hard argument to make, which is why I'm not going to be saying fully at this point in the video whether his actions make him innocent or guilty. I'm fine saying if it's clear if he's a hero or a villain, but I'm not going to say if he's innocent or guilty, because at the end of the day, if Green Arrow was charged with these crimes, as he is in season 6, he is guilty. It would be extremely, extremely challenging for, at the end of season 1, for Oliver Queen to go into court and not go to prison for life for the crimes he's committed. I'm just going to keep, I also do want to just pause here for 2 seconds. If you are enjoying this type of content with using like criminal law almost to like judge if a character's innocent or guilty, please tell me if you enjoy this type of video. I was a little messy on this one, I'm aware of that, but I am curious to see if you guys enjoy this type of video. But back to the video itself, there's just a ton of times that people are just shot by an arrow or neck broken, and that's pretty much it. Like, for example, now let's talk about something in, I might just skip down to episode 16 or 17, I think. I don't see anything that could be like felony murder or anything interesting like that. So I'm going to drop down to The Huntress Returns. This is episode 17, I believe. In this episode, I believe Arrow has a chance to kill Helena Bertinelli. She doesn't. Wait, this is in this episode. Oh, not to kill. Okay. I know what I was going to say. Arrow has a chance to kill Helena Bertinelli, and he doesn't. But then that leads to Helena being able to not kill, but injure, or could have killed, I'm blanking on her name right now, the police officer girlfriend of Oliver at the time. I think it's Markenna. I think I'm not. It's something with an M. But if Helena was to have killed her, would it have been guilty for Oliver? And no, it wouldn't have. I'm just going to say that very clearly. Oliver's actions of sparing her life do not directly correlate to the death of Helena. Not the death of Helena, the murder that Helena commits. If it, like, could a reasonable person have said, like, I think with causation, what you need to do, say, would a reasonable person could have seen this coming? Or like the but for method. In my opinion, I think that even if Oliver knew the risks and he knew that Helena could have done something, but Oliver's actions of sparing her do not directly lead to the injury. It was an action made after the fact, but Oliver's actions did not create or catalyze the attack, which is why I don't believe Arrow would have been guilty if McKenna was killed. At this point, I think there isn't anything else that's like crazy to me about Oliver. For example, there's an unnamed Dr. Webb henchman who's blown up by Oliver when he used an explosive arrow to blow up his car. Could he, like, that is, I would say it's probably either first or second degree murder. I don't fully remember how the murder takes place. If it was like if he exploded the car and that led, I'd say that's probably closer to second degree murder because he blew up the car and then that led to the death. Not, I'd say that's more of a causation. That is definitely causation. Explosive arrow kills the person. That's a case of causation. I think you could argue both first or second degree murder. I'm not going to say anything certain because I don't fully remember that clip. I think a lot of these are pretty much just first and second degree murder. But for example, here's a very different one. When Mr. Blank, as they're known from Home Invasion episode 20, he's the guy who has like the briefcase and is shooting through the briefcase and stuff, breaks into the house with and Oliver stabs him with the fire poker. Yes, that is first degree murder, but Oliver's not guilty because that is self defense. When Oliver is the one who attacks the person, like an episode, like anytime that Oliver goes to the person and shoots them, that is that's murder. But because Mr. Blank broke into Oliver's house, which is a felony, that makes him immediately guilty of that crime. So Oliver's now in self defense. And also, Mr. Blank commits murders in it. I think that one's very clearly he had self defense. So he's, even though that would be first degree murder, he can't be charged with that because he was doing self defense. At this point, I think for the rest of the season, it is all neck brokens and shooting with arrows. I think that's like it. I could argue something with Edward Fires, whose spirit is resurrected in the latter seasons. I could maybe argue something with that, like his death isn't actually on Oliver. I'm not gonna do that. I think that's very much unfair. One more thing I want to talk about, which isn't fully related to Oliver, is about Malcolm Merlin. Is Malcolm Merlin's earthquake? Did Malcolm Merlin commit first degree murder when killing all the people in Glades? And I think that is a very interesting debate. And honestly, that could be its own separate video. So if you like this type of content, I actually might make a full separate video if Malcolm Merlin is first degree murder or second degree murder of the Glades during the undertaking, because it is a causation case. That is there. I know I've said it's like very clear. It is very clear that that's causation. If you need the definition of causation, I think that's in the beginning of the video ish. It's very clear that that would be a causation murder because it is his actions of setting off the earthquake device lead to the death of the others. That's very clear in my opinion. But I think what could be an interesting debate is if, for example, if the earthquake device led to a building collapsing while a person was running out of it, and then a plank fell which killed the person, is that still on Malcolm Merlin? I think you could say his actions, a reasonable person could have predicted that Malcolm Merlin's actions would have led to those deaths. But are all 499 deaths first degree murder? Are they all second degree murder? Are they all manslaughter? Or are some of them first degree murder? Are some of them not even on Malcolm? Because you could also say that did Malcolm Merlin's actions of setting off the earthquake device directly lead to panic in the Glades, which led to someone getting tripping and falling? Like even before the earthquake, when everyone was running through the streets and someone tripped and fell, hit their head, is that directly on Malcolm Merlin? In my opinion, that wouldn't be, because even though he did that, that is not a reasonable person. His even That's not even reasonable person per se. Malcolm Merlin's actions by threatening the device do not directly lead to a person tripping and falling. Is there a reason that it could have happened? Yes, but I don't think that that could have been necessarily on Malcolm Merlin. And if you do want me to talk more about the Malcolm Merlin thing and the undertaking, I have a lot of thoughts on that, and I could do a lot more research into that, into the 499 deaths. I'm not going to do that right now because I want to keep this video strictly about if I believe Arrow is really a villain or innocent. Not innocent, a hero. At the end of the day, I'm going to say this again. Arrow is guilty of these crimes. As we see in season 6, Arrow goes to prison for these crimes. If Arrow was tried, if Oliver was tried and there was clear evidence he was the Green Arrow, he is going to prison for life. That is without a doubt. And the reason why I say that is because there is no, all of his first degree kills are all not just on him, like they're not just on him, they're not just his fault, but they directly lead to, like, there's nothing he can do to erase the fact that he commits first degree murder. The only time in season 1 where that happens is when he kills Mr. Blank because that's in self defense. Every other time, it is very clear first degree murder or sometimes second degree murder. For example, when we get to the explosion on the island in episode 23. I didn't go into every murder this season. I'm not going to talk about. I probably missed one or two deaths that could be more controversial. But I'm going to say this again. At the end of the day, Green Arrow is guilty. Period. He should be in prison for the crimes he commits in season 1. And I'm not going to say anything else. If that's what you wanted to hear, that's it. That's the video. But the main purpose of the video isn't to say, as I said at the start, not if Green Arrow is guilty or innocent, but if his actions lead to him being a hero or a villain. Because even though he commits all these murders, most of which are first degree, he also does try to save lives in almost every single murder. Like, his murders aren't even trying to save, they're either trying to save lives or trying to give money back to people or stop someone who is guilty of crime, someone who's done bad things, as Oliver would say. Because everyone on the list has done bad things. That's very clear. So you can make the argument that because Green Arrow is only killing people trying to help others, that makes him a hero. But now you could argue, I think you could argue it both ways. So I'm going to just quickly try to argue both ways. If you wanted to argue Green Arrow was guilty or not a villain, all you need to do is reference Batman and say Batman is a vigilante in a very same way, but doesn't kill. And Batman probably could be linked to multiple second-degree murders. For example, in The Batman, there's a time... No, not in The Batman. In Batman v Superman, there's like a car chase, I think, and it leads to like multiple cars exploding. That is second-degree murder. But because Batman doesn't commit any first-degree murders, or most of the time doesn't commit first-degree murder, or I don't think in any film he's really committed first-degree murder. I'm not going to discuss Batman here. I'm probably wrong on most of these facts about Batman specifically, but he generally does not kill people. So you could argue that he's a hero and he's innocent because even though he has committed some second-degree murder, his actions of saving people probably would make up for it. However, you could also say that any vigilante's actions are guilty. So in either way, anyone who is a vigilante is a villain, which also means Spider-Man is a villain. So I think that makes the argument more muddy. But when you look specifically at Green Arrow, who commits many first-degree murders in this season, many second-degree murders, and doesn't feel much remorse about killing people. Again, 55 confirmed kills. That's a ton. And in just season 1 alone, I believe it said like there's like 200 in total throughout the show. Does that make Arrow a villain or a hero? And you could, if you're arguing for a villain, all you need to say is that he's committing this much first-degree murder. Those actions do not make up for first-degree murder. And if Batman only commits like second-degree murder, or none, or no murder at all, or even manslaughter, probably you could argue, he's guilty compared to Batman. If you wanted to argue Arrow is a hero, all you need to say very much is that you believe he's a hero because he tries to help people in his actions. I honestly think you could have an easier job arguing he's a hero, not in the court of law, because he's guilty. You can't argue he's innocent and win that case. But what you can argue is say, like, I believe he's a hero because his actions are noble, and he's doing these actions for the people he loves and for the city that he lives in. You could say that's a heroic action, and that makes him a hero. And in your mind, it can be. So I think you could really argue either way. You're not wrong for arguing one way or the other. In my personal opinion, though, I do think that Green Arrow is probably more of a villain in season 1. I think once you get to later seasons, I'd say season 4, 5, no, not 5. I'd say even like season 6, he's pretty good. There's a few seasons where he is very much I won't kill. Season 2 is a good one. Season 2, episode 23 is called Unthinkable because he won't kill. You will see in the transition between season 1 and 2 how much Green Arrow is against killing because he realizes killing is wrong. In my opinion, Green Arrow of season 2 is a hero because even though he does bad things, and I think he does commit the occasional murder, he does the actions to try to help others and to, like, yeah. However, in this season, he's a villain, in my opinion, because his actions are mostly murder, are mostly first degree murder to make him even better. And that is not something that can very easily be defended just because he's helping people. Because also, even though all of these people who he's killing have done wrong, most of them have like done like, for example, like one of them I think did like tax embezzling or something. Like they've done bad things, but they've not caused enough harm to other people to warrant their death. I think the death of Malcolm Merlin is warranted. I think the insanity of the Count, which is a little bit different, is also warranted. But I think some of them are very much not warranted. And to talk about the Count quickly, if Arrow murdered the Count in the episode where the Count comes back, that is first degree murder. Because even if you kill someone to end their misery, that is acceleration of death, which means that it's first degree murder. So either way, in my opinion, Green Arrow has heroic actions, but is still a villain in season 1. And I think that's all I have to say. If you do enjoy this type of criminal law-esque content, analyzing if someone's a hero or a villain or something like that, comment below. It also depends how good this video does. The Pangatha video didn't do very well. But as you know, I'm doing a lot less videos, but I'm really trying to make videos I'm more passionate about and not just forcing out content because over the a few months ago, I was not enjoying making the content as much, and now I'm enjoying making these types of videos a lot more. So if you are enjoying this type of content, comment below. If you want more of this specific criminal law type of content, also please do because I do enjoy this very much. And I think that's all I have to say. This is a longer video. Hope you enjoyed that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.